Musia Bassi.
BBC Radio Leeds.
जैसे मैंने एक मौजू जो इस हफ्ते काफ़ी चलता रहा है और काफ़ी अरसे से चलता रहा है ये मौजू, मगर इस हफ्ते ख़ास करके हमारी ख़बरों में सामने आ गया है और वो है सब्जेक्ट ऑफ फोर्स्ड मैरिजेस हमारे कम्युनिटी में ख़ास करके बहुत ज़्यादा सामने आती है। और अब आपने सुना होगा इस हफ्ते कि जो गवर्नमेंट है वो कह रहे हैं कि इसको एक गैर कानूनी कर देंगे और अगर कोई पकड़ा गया है ऐसे कोई काम हरकत करने में तो उनको सज़ा भी मिल सकती है। एक जो आज हमारी गेस्ट हैं वो है अनीता प्रेम, वो है फ्रीडम चैरिटी की फाउंडर और वो उनका काम यही है कि जो ज़बरदस्ती शादियां होती हैं, फोर्स मैरिजेस होती हैं, चाहे वो कहते हैं इज़्ज़त की वजह से, जो कहते हैं ऑनर बेस्ड वायलेंस है उसकी वजह से वो कैंपेन करती हैं। अब हमारे स्टूडियो में वो पहुंच नहीं सके मगर हम उससे बात ज़रूर कर रहे हैं लाइव और ये हैं अनीता प्रेम, फाउंडर ऑफ द फ्रीडम चैरिटी। हेलो अनीता.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me on your programme.
Not at all. Thank you very much for taking the time out to speak to us. Now, let me just have a little word with you about yourself, Aneeta, because I was amazed. I was reading your biog and I was quite amazed. I don't know why I am quite amazed, because we see more and more young up-and-coming Asian women in very strong, powerful positions. And you yourself, not only are you a founder of the Freedom Charity, but you're also one of the youngest magistrates in London.
I am, yes.
Well done. Well done. It makes you proud. It makes you proud. And you're also chairing in adult youth and family law. You work with schools and colleges and universities at large events. You work on various bodies, government bodies, and have a voice there. So you're in a really positive place to be able to put your point forward, aren't you?
I would hope so. I mean, you know, I used to be a member of the Metropolitan Police Authority that governed how London was policed, and I was the lead on forced marriage and dishonour killings then as well.
Right. Now, let's go to the subject we're talking about today, which is, of course, forced marriages. And it's been in the news this week, of course, because the government is saying it's going to become illegal. I mean, it never was legal, really, in the real sense of the word. But now they're going to have powers eventually to do something about it. Just explain that for me a little bit, for our listeners who are not quite clear what that exactly means.
Well, I was with the Prime Minister on Friday at the round table at the Foreign Office, where he announced that forced marriage would be a criminal offence. That means if parents and families force their young people into marriage against their will, and they could, you know, risk going into prison if that was, you know, in the most extreme cases.
Which has happened already, I think, in some places, hasn't it, where parents have been, because they've committed violence against one of their children for forcing them into a marriage, that they've actually been taken into custody and there's cases pending, which we can't go into at this moment, but action is taking place already. But what is this law that's coming? What is that exactly going to mean now? How is that going to change things?
Well, actually, there hasn't been, you know, it hasn't been a criminal offence in the UK to force your children into marriage. I mean, what forced marriage basically is abuse. And when we're talking about young people, we're talking about child abuse. And forced marriage leads to often people being abducted, they're kidnapped, they're coerced, there's domestic violence when they're forced into marriage, someone is serially raped when they're forced into marriage, and in the worst cases, it can lead to murder. So it's hugely serious when we're talking about forced marriage.
Now, like you say, it wasn't exactly illegal. I mean, morally it was illegal, wasn't it? Morally, it's not acceptable no matter what culture, what community you come from. Are you finding, I mean, from the work that you're doing, what does your work in the Freedom Charity involve? I mean, does that mean you're going out talking to people? And if so, what kind of people are you actually going out to see?
Well, Freedom Charity was the first charity set up to deal with prevention of forced marriage, and we set up 2 years ago, and we go into schools, colleges and universities, and I wrote a book called But It's Not Fair, and it's a piece of fiction about a young girl whose friend was forced into marriage and how she dealt with that scenario, what action she did and didn't take, and by not assisting your friend who's being forced into marriage, what trauma that actually leads to. and I do a lot of assemblies, and every school we've approached has really welcomed the work that Freedom are doing. We have a 24/7 helpline and a text line. That's the first one in the UK that's manned by professionals. 20 professionals man that line. We also are having an app with all the signs of forced marriage and abuse on that's going to come out later in the summer. So most of the young people we see have smartphones, so they can download that and immediately have assistance if they're being forced into marriage. So there's a lot of positive things we're doing. We're using social media in a very positive way to spread the message of what a forced marriage is and how you can be protected against it.
Now, you mentioned schools there and approaching young people. I mean, when you're talking about approaching schools, are you actually going in to talk to classes and young people in schools, or are you just approaching the professionals to get that word across?
We're doing both. I mean, I go in and do assemblies. I do whole school assemblies. We do lessons if that's needed. And we talk about what a forced marriage is and how young people can be empowered to support each other. And we really target the best friend. If your best friend is being forced into marriage, what would you do to help? And that's often easier when you're talking to young people, because I haven't really met many young people that's able to say, well, this is about to happen to me or it's happened to